All right, everybody, welcome to a Victory Monday edition of the Patterson Report. I'm Brandon. He's Ryan. Sorry we didn't get one out to you last Thursday. Had a couple things pop up, but kind of gave us the opportunity to do a Victory Monday edition, which I don't think we've gotten to do too much, if ever. But after a game like last night, it felt like this Monday in particular deserved it.
Look, the first observation from that game is there has to be some discipline for refs. I mean,
Yeah,
that
that
like that,
that PI.
that's one of my takeaways from that with all the tacky calls and whatnot. But that's something for another day. But the vibes are absolutely great. Saquon Barkley, I cannot believe that man is an Eagle. Thank you, Joe Schoen, and all the Giants organization, man. You fumbled the absolute bag, and I'm surprised they still have a job. I thought they were going to get fired this morning. I'm completely
Really,
serious.
yeah, me too.
I'm not even joking.
There was rumblings about it.
What was the quote that they always watch when he does good, they just get really sad or whatever. They get mad at the GM like the owner does.
Yeah, I mean, for one, two things came out of this. One, I think a running back could win MVP this year. That's something new. And this was probably going to be the only season in NFL history that we get Hard Knocks, the offseason edition. No one is ever doing this ever again after what Joe Schoen is going through right now.
I gotta shout out his kid who wanted to draft Jaden Daniels. You know ball, man.
Even John Mara, he's going to catch a lot of shit for this, because it happened on his watch and all. I feel like he kind of took the stance that Jeffrey Lurie might kind of take, where he's not an overbearing owner, but he's going to get his point across. I just think Joe Schoen missed the message. When he said, look, I'm going to have a real hard time sleeping if Saquon goes to Philly. That felt to me, even now,
didn't they say the Eagles were out at a point too?
Joe Schoen thought they were, and I don't think John Mara did, and that felt kind of like a wink-wink moment. I really hope he doesn't go to Philly, Joe. Don't blow this. And sure enough, they fumbled, and we have what looks like the second coming of Barry Sanders.
Look, man, I think it goes to show that there's a lot of great talent hiding away on these organizations that don't, I don't know how to put this. Losing franchises that just lose off and on top of Saquon, they lost Xavier McKinney for nothing. He leads the league in interceptions in Green Bay right now. It's one of those things where it just top to bottom, it just doesn't work out. And I mean, they fumbled 2 draft classes, and that's mainly the reason we got Saquon. They missed on a couple of high picks in the top 10, but that's the reason Saquon's here right now, and you just got to thank him for it. I mean, if there's a team going into a pivotal offseason right now and they haven't made the playoffs in a while, there's no way you could do Hard Knocks. There's absolutely no way.
Shot. No shot. You don't want to be Joe Schoen part 2. But watching him play football, and we'll get to the Eagles as a whole, because, I mean, I think the coverage today in general has been Saquon focused, and deservedly so. We set a new franchise record for rushing yards.
Threw away the ball, too. Did you get that back? Do we know?
I don't know, actually.
Did you see his reaction when someone told him?
I actually don't know. I'm sure they're typically pretty good about that. That's kind of Big Dom's whole job. But I can't remember the last time I watched a player like Saquon in an Eagles jersey. And in general, I don't remember being as in awe of an Eagle the way that I am when Saquon touches the football.
I agree. It's insane.
It's every play you're going to – I mean, I legitimately believe he can break every single play. Every time he touches the ball, in my head, we got a 30% chance at a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly ridiculous. It's so crazy because watching Saquon over the years, he was obviously a high fantasy draft pick because he's Saquon Barkley, of course, and he just didn't really produce in that Giants organization. And the second he gets out, he's going absolutely crazy. This is the Saquon that you saw on the Penn State tape, way back when.
Yeah.
He showed that his rookie year with the Giants. And then it just all kind of fell apart. There's a couple injuries in there, a couple of freak injuries that weren't his fault. But now he said it himself. He's got the money security that the Giants were not going to give him. The Eagles gave him financial security, and now he can go out and try to jump over defenders backwards and whatnot. And
he lowers the boom on guys too. Like, I mean, yeah, everybody, you see the breakaway speed, you see the vision, you see the elusiveness. But almost any time he gets the opportunity to take on whenever a corner tries to square him up, you see what's coming a mile away. He's putting his shoulder down and he's going to put you on your ass. You might tackle him, but you're going to pay for it. And that's an element of Saquon's game that I didn't think he still had. I thought that might have gone by the wayside with, all the rubber on the tires, all the, the dings and dents over the years, but he looks like he's like 22 again. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I want to shout out Howie here because obviously the man deserves his flowers. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
He saw a market overcorrection with the running backs. Everyone was going away from the running backs. They said, no, we're not going to pay him. I'm reading this one off because I want to make sure I get it right. Saquon Barkley got less money per year than Adrian Peterson did in 2011.
Yeah.
The cap has doubled since then. I think even more. So like you see all these teams that are succeeding now. You have Houston, who's kind of rocky right now. They paid Joe Mixon on the second deal. The Ravens paid Derrick Henry. They're struggling right now on Monday Night Football. And then Josh Jacobs, they're all top 3 in rushing yards, Saquon, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs. So like Howie saw the overcorrection and said, hey, this is our final piece. I'm going to go get him. And man is just a absolute game changer. And I'm so happy I can't believe it. Every day I'm like, am I dreaming? Did this really happen?
And to your point, I mean, I think it's a great point with the overcorrection because it did feel like it was heading too far one way where teams got the idea that, hey, we'll draft a guy in the 4th round. Anybody can run the football and it's fine. You look at those 3 teams. Now, granted, they weren't great with them, but, Oakland had some moments.
Henry had some moments too, back when they were good.
Yeah, but you look at those 3 teams, Giants among the worst in football.
Giants at least had a run. Giants at least had a run in there.
No, I'm saying all these 3 of these teams said we don't need to pay a running back, we'll be fine, and they're 3 of the worst teams in football this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans did pay a running back, which is weird, but that's neither here nor there. They paid Tony Pollard, but he's been good. I'll say that.
Chose to pay a weird back. But yeah, anyway, so that's that. But beyond, I mean, Saquon obviously has gotten the majority of the headlines, but this whole Eagle team is clicking. And the reason the episode's titled, It Feels Like 2017 Again, is because it really does. Jalen's staying within himself. He's running the ball when he needs to. He's making smart throws. A.J. Brown is that Alshon Jeffrey role and then so much more. His defense is better than it was in 17, I think. Statistically, it shows it. Yeah, we'll get to BG.
Okay.
But this whole team's just rounding out. I mean, when you go to look at the Eagles and think, oh, what's a weakness? Wide receiver 3, which if you have to pick one place on the football field to have a weakness, I'm A-okay with it being wide receiver 3 because, you're too deep at every other spot. It's how we got a lot of crap early because, Devin White obviously didn't work out. Jahan Dotson looked like an overpay, still might be, but he hit on a lot of other moves. Those 1 year prove it deals this year with like Zach Vaughn is gigantic.
Where's his extension? I need to see it. I need to see it, man. We need to keep him in town. I think
they will.
I think they will as well. I'm sad because I think we're going to lose Milton Williams, their whole cap situation. He's been playing great. He had a couple of flash plays last night.
He's going to have to play on the outside, I think.
Yeah, he might after BG. Bryce Huff's the big money guy. I know he's hurt, but he'll be back. And I just hope that he starts to turn around. We've been mentioning how it's been kind of weird around him, but he's starting to kick it into gear. So that's going to be a thing to monitor.
He's out for the regular season, but then back for the postseason?
I think so.
Okay, you figure in the meantime, with BG out, obviously the easy one is Alex Hunt is going to see some more snaps.
I'm excited for him.
I think Nolan Smith slides into a lion's share of snaps, versus just kind of being a change of pace guy that pops in and out. I think Milton Williams has played on the outside before. I think he sees some snaps out there. It's going to be by committee, I think there's not one person on this roster that can take BG's spot. I don't think.
No, I mean, I was in high spirits last night. You probably were as well, and it just all came crashing down. And you just talked to the reporters and like,
I know. I kind of had a feeling. I don't know if you saw some of the clips, or I don't. It was on Twitter. It wasn't on the broadcast. But they're saying that a bunch of Eagles were going over to BG and kind of giving him a hug on his way out, and he met with Jalen Hurts for a few minutes. Like when guys start doing that,
I didn't see
they're
that.
not coming back quickly.
I didn't see that, so that's why I was scrolling Twitter, and I think it was like Philly Nation's like the last time we lost a player for the year in LA against the Rams, we won the Super Bowl. I'm like, wait, what happened? Did I miss something? And then I saw him like, it's tough, but how he drafted these young guys. The depth is there behind BG, especially if Nolan Smith continues to progress and Jalen Hunt shows some flashes, which I think he has already. Nothing too extreme, but I think there's enough there at edge that will be fine. I know BG is going to be a veteran presence in the locker room going forward for these guys as well. He's not going to, just go away, which speaks a testament to this team because, Jason Kelsey's still around as well. And he's, on TV every night, it feels like. So it's just that locker room. It feels tight. I mean, they all went up to Alshon last night. So, man.
That was cool. D-Jax was also there.
LeSean McCoy was also there in Lurie suite. So, everyone was there. Everyone saw that insane performance by Saquon. So it was nice.
Yeah, it'll be – so the BG interviews were cool. I think he's gonna turn into a coach on the sideline, and we'll get to next year when we get there. But I just don't see him really leaving this Eagles team in any capacity for a little while.
He was playing so good last night, man. Some of those pass rush reps.
He turned it back.
Man, wow.
He turned the clock back. That double arm swipe on that first set.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, you just felt helpless for the poor guy. Like you're in your stance, nothing you can do, and your arms are gone, and BG's already past 36 years old. He only got credit for one sack, but watching the game, I mean, his stats were way higher. I think he had with at least 3 QB hits, a couple pressures. He just felt like in that third quarter, he was always in the backfield.
That's why I got to look past the box score. You got to look past the box score for BG last night and basically Jalen Carter all season.
Yeah, Jalen Carter. I definitely want to talk about that a little bit. I know we kind of look at him the same way. I even treat Jordan Davis similarly to where I don't judge them on their sack numbers, because if you're watching the game, he's either chewing up a double team to let guys like BG and like Sweat get one-on-ones, or he's clogging up the middle and taking down 2 running lanes on his own. He is such a huge disruptor. 79% of his snaps were double teams. And when you look at his numbers, you go, he wasn't in the backfield much, no sacks, pressures, whatever. You got to credit some of the BG pressures, some of the Nolan Smith pressures, some of the, I'm blank on the other side, Sweat pressures to having one-on-ones.
Yeah, they showed the montage. It was the Amazon Prime one, halfway through the game or in the third quarter. It just looked like a double team holding montage for Jalen Carter. It was absolutely ridiculous. I was just sitting there hold, and then just every play. He's ridiculous.
So many holds. The refs were horrendous. You could call it a hold on every play on Carter, and then that bullshit PI call on, I think it was Rodgers.
It was Rodgers in the end zone on Nakua.
Even the broadcast. Chris Collinsworth typically toes the company line, and he hates the Eagles, I still think. Yeah. But when even he said, I don't know if there's enough there. And they went to whoever the rules guy is, who, again.
I don't think there was either.
Yeah, he always agrees or finds a way to agree with the refs. He goes, I didn't see it. You served up. That was a third down, too. You served up a touchdown on a silver platter. It turned out not to matter, but I could see in a different game. If that happens against Baltimore, I'm going to be furious. Then it's going to matter.
They're not looking good right now, so.
We're dogs in that game.
I can't believe that. It feels like a trap. It honestly feels like a trap that hey, I'm going to go bet this and
I never bet the Eagles. I don't bet my team.
I don't either, but I want to double back to the refs real quick. That Goddard offensive offsides when Jared Verse clearly jumped, that was ridiculous. I mean, there was a couple of bad calls against the Rams as well. There was a couple of times where DeJean was holding Nacua just a little bit. Yeah. Like you could tell. It was wishy-washy both ways, and it was not a well officiated game, and I hope that crew either, I just don't want that to happen in a high leverage situation for any team. Because we've seen refs step in way too many times. It's going past the Eagles, so
yeah, it's become the ref show. I mean, it's happened to us. Hopefully, it doesn't happen again this year. But just overall, it has that same feel. Like, even down to the point where you lose a key guy in LA. Like, it just, last year's team, I think, we were all lying to ourselves to some degree when we were 10-0, and you're like, I'm defeated. You never felt confident about the team, though. They limped to 10-1. It was awkward. It was ugly. I mean, this year's team, you can see it in the guys. The celebrations are the same. Saquon Barkley, had just ripped off a 30-yard run, asked for a breather. Kenny Gainwell comes in, takes his touchdown. First guy off the bench to run out there is Saquon. You see Jalen Hurts and Saquon smiling after the game. You see, BG turning the clock. You see all these guys like, Dallas Goedert playing the prank for the drug test. Like, this feels like that 17 team where you have 52 dudes who love playing football together, just out there having fun. And when this Eagles team has fun is when they've typically been at their best.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to get a stat again, so I'm pulling out the phone because the Eagles had the third lowest DVOA against, when they were 10-1 of all 10-1 teams of all time. So like, it was kind of one of those seasons where if you looked at the advanced numbers, you kind of knew. And then that's defensive adjusted value over average. I have to remember to look at it because I always mess up the one. But you know who's right above them right now? I just want to point this out.
Mm-hmm.
The current 10-1 Chiefs are right next to them. So,
well, they've been a horrible 10-1. I mean, they narrowly beat Carolina.
We'll see. DVOA sets a lot of standards, and we're going to talk about that later in the season because the Lions are pacing it, and I'm anticipating a matchup with them later in the season, judging on the current state of the NFC.
Yeah, I get the feeling that we are going to Detroit sometime here in January.
I hope we don't. If we force Jared Goff outside,
that's the key. But I mean,
we got to get there somehow.
Detroit's a wagon, and so are the Eagles, but they didn't stumble out the gate.
Yeah, I mean, this Baltimore one is a must get. The Lions do have a tough game against the Bills coming up in 2 weeks. So that if that's the place they're going to stumble, that's the place they're going to have to do it. And I think they're at home, which is.
And aren't we home 5 of our last 6 or something crazy like that?
Yeah, and there's no plane. We're done with plane rides.
Yeah, because we got to go. We got DC and New York.
I think it's DC and Baltimore. I think Baltimore's the home team next weekend.
Oh, right.
Pretty sure we played the Giants in the Meadowlands already.
We go up there. Yeah, we did. Okay.
So bus trips the rest of the way out. That's actually really nice because travel is going to be easy. Nothing. The teams earned it after going to Brazil on a Friday. So.
Yeah, they should be able to throw it in cruise control. Yeah, kind of down the stretch here. Are we supposed to get Smitty back? Is he? I
think so. I think that was just a precautionary thing. I mean,
hamstrings are kind of funky, so
they're being kind of funky. But like, it's one of those things where if we needed him, I'm pretty sure he could suit up. Kind of deal. Well, this Eagles team is something different. We can give guys some time off. I'm not saying he's not hurting or anything, but I'm pretty sure if he wanted to force it, he could. He might react to it though. That's the thing.
So there's a guy I follow on Twitter. He does a lot of Eagles commentary. I'm sure you probably follow him too. It's I think it's Shane Huff. I think it is. Or he had an idea. I just want to get your opinion on. I'm not sure where I stand on it myself. Second game in a row, Slay's gotten hurt. Obviously came back and played again, but it seems like his body's starting to break down this season. Not over. I'm not saying he's washed. I'm saying he's got an injury bug this season. Shane introduced the idea of bringing him back for the game before for Week 17 and then the playoffs, and just let Isaiah Rodgers run up until then.
That's
I get the theory because you keep Slay healthy. I also think corner is probably the hardest position to do that because it's one of the easiest positions to get rusty in.
I mean, look, when Slay got that concussion, they immediately went after Rodgers. I saw them lining up Puka Nacua on the right side of the field basically exclusively after that. So it's pretty tough when it see, I'm trying to think through it and talk at the same time. I don't like it. I'm not about it.
I mean, look, Nacua is a hell of a receiver. Let's call it what it is. Much like us, the Rams have 2 number ones.
Yeah, even though he doesn't know what division he plays in.
That doesn't matter. He has to
he doesn't need to know.
All he's got to do is catch the ball.
Crazy. I love that, though. That's so funny.
I think that's a bit of an outlier because, I mean, we've seen Rodgers have to step in a couple times this year, and he's played admirably. I don't think he's the best tackler, in my opinion, but he's done his job against what's typically going to be wide receiver 2 or 3. I don't think the rest of the way, off the top of my head, there's a wide receiver 2 on the level of Puka Nacua that he's going to have to deal with, who's not operating out of the slot, who would then be picked up by DeJean.
I don't think so. I mean, not even for the playoffs unless they see the Rams again, which I doubt they're going to see the Rams again.
No, but I mean, you don't keep Slay out for the season. You bring him back for the playoffs, I think. The thought is just getting him there, kind of taking the Joel Embiid approach.
It's tough because I'd say give him a couple weeks off here and then bring him back around 15, 16.
And just try to give him a little runway into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do that.
I think, yeah, just any kind of a break, I think, is necessary at this point for him. Then Rodgers is fine. I think he'll hold his own. If you need to, if it gets bad to that point, I mean, DeJean has played on the outside. You can travel DeJean if you run into another dynamic wide receiver too. But I don't think. Look, there's a lot of former Eagle teams where Isaiah Rodgers is CB1. let's put it like that. So we've had worse at 2, or even 3 if you got to move DeJean. I just think it's worth having because Slay's had a great age 34 season. Didn't look great to start. Got a lot of shit. Some of it deserved. But during this winning streak, he's played really, really well I think someone told me he's the oldest starting corner in football.
Sounds right now that I'm thinking about it.
So, I mean, he's done admirably well for the situation.
Yeah. Did you see last night when Rodgers came in and they called the flag on James Bradbury? I was like, what? What?
Dude, I had PTSD.
I was like, what's going on?
I was scrolling Twitter going like, wait, when did we resign him? Did I miss a step somewhere?
Oh, yeah, I was like, what's going on? But it was crazy. I mean, I think personally, DeJean can play on the outside. I personally don't think he'd do that right now.
No, he's mastering the slot right now.
You keep him where he's exceptional. I mean, sure, you could add another boundary corner in the offseason, which I think we're going to have to do unless Keely Ringo develops or we re-sign Isaiah Rodgers. But
I mean, Rodgers isn't a traffic zone. He was bad last time. He was.
Yeah, but he came in off the bench against one of the best receivers in the league. I'll give him a pass.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's had I'm blanking on the game, but
it was. I know which game you're talking about, but I don't know exactly which game. I know he had like a stellar one.
It was the game-saving pick where he had when he was out of bounds. Was he back into CJ?
I think so.
Who the hell was that against? But anyway, we both know the game we're talking about. He's had some moments this year. He can more than hold his own. To your point, he was coming in ice cold against probably the best wide receiver 2 in football. Second best wide receiver 2 in football behind Smitty. And that's a complete homer take. You could really debate me on that one.
You could go debate. You could do that for a couple guys, but there's like 1 or 2. But it's
better wide receiver 2s. I mean, you got Nacua. I mean, when healthy, what do you want to throw T. Higgins in there?
Probably, and if he wasn't having such a bad season, Jalen Waddle, but he just hasn't been good.
No, well, Miami's interesting because they've completely flipped the script and decided to become a running and tight end team, which is just not what they were designed to be at all. Jonnu Smith is eating down there.
That's crazy. I mean, it makes you think that we don't use Goddard all that much, if ever. When you see Jonnu Smith getting 10 targets a game.
It really is a shame because I think we have talent-wise a top 6 tight end in football. He just doesn't get the usage.
What are you gonna do? It's the team that he's on.
Only somebody, yeah. And he seems cool with it. I mean, when you gotta get the ball to AJ, Smitty, and Saquon, and your quarterback's probably gonna run 6-7 times a game. There's only so many plays. I would like to see. Look, this is my only gripe about the play calling at the moment, and it's been pretty stellar.
QB power?
I will always hate the QB power because it's never.
Yes.
Let Jalen Hurts run when he sees fit. He knows when there's a lane and he will take it. Dude, I'm done with the Jalen Hurts designed runs on 3rd and 8. No one's ever been fooled, ever. So yeah, that's one. And then look, I'm sure it's really cool that Johnny Wilson's 6'6". It's awesome. It hasn't worked. Him being 6'6" and throwing Johnny Wilson the fade has not worked yet. I'm done with it. You have Dallas Goedert, a much better route runner and a much more sure-handed big option. Give him that route. Let's end the Johnny Wilson experiment for right now.
Yeah, getting in a crunch time. I mean, I get it. You got to give the rookies a little bit of run, but
I think he's had ample opportunity in the red zone, mind you. Like, they're not all his fault, but he gets no separation in the red zone. Absolute zero, which is one thing. That's whatever. Who the hell am I thinking of that never – I'm blanking. There was a receiver that was famous for just never getting any separation, but it didn't matter.
There's a couple guys that are coming to mind.
Yeah, but there was one in particular that was like a perennial 1,000-yard receiver, but when you look at his the stats, he was covered all the time. Anyway, he's not – you're not going to throw a 50-50 ball to Johnny Wilson. He's coming down. He's not there. It gets batted out of his hands every single time. Give Goddard that ball.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see AJ on the fades too. Like, he's a big guy. Like, it's just I mean, I'm okay with Goddard running them because AJ is going to clear some space elsewhere.
I think that's the thought. I mean, AJ's taking your top corner out of the play. I mean, if in a perfect world you have Goddard on most likely a safety, if you get lucky, maybe he draws a linebacker in coverage. He's going to have a better matchup than AJ's going to get. They're going to travel their best guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a good receiver. I mean, that Saints game, Goddard, he won that game. I mean,
oh yeah,
that was one of the more athletic plays you'll see out of a tight end tiptoeing down the sideline for 40-something yards. Like, he has that in him.
Mm-hmm. He has it in him, and he's the 4th option, which is pretty great for a playoff team. So
they should treat him as. Oh, you mean I got you. You mean 4th option in the offense?
Yeah,
I mean, throwing the ball, he's definitely there.
Yeah. He's behind Saquon, and Saquon had 30 touches last night, which all deserved. Don't get me wrong.
Jeez, I know, but let's get there. Maybe a couple more Gainwell touches. He's not completely useless. Just get Saquon to the postseason.
He came right in there and scored on that one red zone possession. So
I like Kenny. He's fine. I mean, that year they tried to make him the lead back, was never going to work, but he's a good change of pace back. He's a good number 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. Like, I don't know if you caught this. You can tell when the national broadcasters watch a little bit of tape and then pop in the booth because they were kind of going on when Kenny came in about, they're bringing Gainwell in. He's more of their pass catching back. Like, buddy, you haven't watched this team too much this year. Saquon Barkley has been really effective as a receiver.
He's been doing everything, man.
To call Kenny our pass catching back is a little rich.
I want to like poke Howie's brain. I want to be like, did you cycle through running backs knowing that you were going to get Saquon? Like, you know what I mean? Like, knowing that he was going to get that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, Howie's so interesting because he did for the longest time he didn't invest money in the position. But I mean, he would give out prove-it deal after prove-it deal, and look, Miles Sanders, whatever his career became after us, 1,000-yard rusher. DeAndre Swift, Pro Bowler. It's not that he didn't have to invest a ton of money, so he didn't. But for as long as I can remember, I mean, the Eagles have had a formidable running game with a pretty big name at the top.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you see how he correct his mistakes in real time.
Yeah.
Like he goes, second round pick, didn't really work out. Oh, prove a deal, didn't really work out. Oh, there's a generational talent on the market. I'm gonna throw every dollar I can at him.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say Miles Sanders didn't work out.
Oh, he worked out, but it wasn't for his draft capital where it's a draft capital thing that I'm thinking of. In overall NFL terms, he was perfectly okay, perfectly good for the Eagles.
I mean, I think with him it's tough because when you look at his body of work outside of Philadelphia, I think you're 100% right. I really don't believe that if, for whatever the reason, if Howie decided to make him our lead back for the next 3 or 4 years, I mean, is there a party that genuinely thinks he wouldn't have hit 1,000 yards 2 out of those 3 years?
He would have, but that's just a testament to the offensive line, it feels like, with how bad he was struggled down in Carolina.
Well, I mean, everybody sucks in Carolina.
Chuba's been pretty good this year, I will say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, the benchmark for a great running back, I would argue, is 1,000-yard season. And if you have a guy, regardless of your line, who can hit that consistently, that's a draft pick well spent.
We might have to change that. How quick running backs hitting 1,000 now?
I mean,
Derrick Henry's already there. Josh Jacobs is pretty much all the way there. Saquon's there.
Yeah, I liked him. I don't regret that pick. Really,
I don't regret that pick either. I regret the next one.
Well, yeah, I mean,
what are you gonna do over DK?
Yeah, that's a tough one, but all right. We'll play Thursday by ear. We might see you back here Thursday. Actually, no, we definitely won't. Thursday's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we got a holiday to celebrate.
Yeah, so everybody have fun with family. Enjoy a day full of football. The Lions are good, so don't skip the 1:00 game this year like you usually do.
The perfect nap. I saw a tweet about that. Is the 4 p.m. game unless Daniel Jones goes to the Cowboys, and that's must-watch TV.
Yeah, but you're right. Follow that strategy. Lock in for the 1:00. Turkey nap around 4. Come back in for the primetime game, and we'll be back next week to talk about all of them. But in the meantime, I'm Brandon. He's Ryan. This is the Passing Report. Happy Thanksgiving.